Hi, everyone. I'm Seema. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Climate Scale Up. I'm here with Russ Wilcox, founder and CEO of Artifacts AI. Really glad to see you here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your company does?
Awesome, Seema. Well, it's so great to see you. My name is Russ Wilcox. I am CEO of Artifacts AI and also chair the policy committee for the American Society for Artificial Intelligence. At Artifacts AI, we use AI agents to unify government documents across the world to create community intelligence to build a better world. What does that mean? We all know that we have a midst of crises from energy to housing to climate. All of the solutions lie local. The problem is all of that data is spread across different apartments and paper records and unusable. What we've done is we've built a system to build predictive models based on that. Some of our customers include the state of New York, the federal government, cities across the world, and we are really revolutionizing what does it mean to interact with government.
That's amazing, and that's a lot of work that must go into it. So, tell me a little bit about your process. Like, how do you gather that data? How do you work with governments? And then I'll get into a little bit about some of the AI that you're working on.
So one of the questions that I get asked is, how do you get this data?
Yeah,
Well, my answer to that question is, people love to write things.
yeah.
People don't like to read things, and bureaucracy spans no borders.
Okay.
So if you go to your local government website, you might see hundreds of thousands of documents that have paper records pertaining to little Susie's birthday party permit to a 1,500-page environmental impact report that have viable data in it for predictive modeling. So what we do is we have a process through AI agents that almost acts like a shipping trawler. It
Okay.
picks up every single document. And then what we do is we categorize them. We say, is this a permit? Is this a budgetary document? Is this SEMA putting a deck on her house or something like that, right? And then from there, once we have this organized, we have a very unique methodology where we deconstruct these documents into structured data, allowing us to overcome context windows so we can handle documents up to 1 million pages
Wow.
like that.
Wow.
But the beauty is we don't produce summaries. We produce structured data that allow for predictive modeling. So you can think of us almost as an ethical palantir. We have a research solution that governments and other individuals can use to say, learn about initiatives of energy in Guangzhou or zoning developments in Boston, or in the case of federal agencies, what is going on with budgetary documents in the Middle East.
Yeah.
From there, what we do is we have a flywheel effect where we build predictive models based on the customers.
Yeah.
And you might say, oh my God, that's a consultancy.
Yeah.
No, it's not. We're an architectural solution. Would you call Palantir a consultancy? No.
Yeah.
What we do is we find problems that scale across governments. We solve that problem, and then we either let our customers white brand them or they get enveloped into an ecosystem to create further predictive models.
So tell me a little bit about your predictive models, because when I first learned about it, I was like blown away with the power that it has to understand what even regulators are looking for and from government perspective. So tell me a little bit more about that.
I want to give you two examples. One from the government itself. The second is from an energy developer looking to build in an area that requires government approval. So the first example comes from a town in Massachusetts that was having water shortage crises.
Right.
And so what they did is they said, well, you really need to have a second irrigation line so we could charge you slightly differently.
Yeah.
What they did was they looked at the water data and said, here are all of the pieces of data that seem outliers. You're using too much. So they send out 2,000 letters and they get 1,900 complaints saying, we don't irrigate our lawns. Why? Because they're only looking at one set of data. So they came to us and said, how could you solve this problem? We were able to unify all of their data, all of their historical permits, bring in geospatial images to see the greenness of the lawns. We were able to bring in the deed records, whether there was a voter that living there. And then we could then build out a multimodal model to say, hey, this property is in high risk of compliance or is not in compliance. So not only are we increasing the revenue for the municipality, we're decreasing the amount of effort that the local government officials have to do.
Yeah.
And we're bringing in new sources of revenue.
All right.
So that's what governments of the future look like. Now, the second side of this is
Right.
we all know it takes a long time to build a first of a kind energy project. they take anywhere from 10 to 20 years. And the reason is not regulations, it's the interpretations of regulations. So local governments don't have staffers like you do on Capitol Hill. They are well-intended people who are just not equipped to read volumes of data. So what we do is we mine video transcripts, we mine these documents, and we're able to reconstruct arguments from those board members to say, well, Councilman Jones is really, really concerned about fire suppression. And then we're able to go back to the developer and say, you need to put this in your proposal.
Right.
From there, we're able to build out a model that has been 97% accurate in terms of approval rating. Why? Because we're not trying to predict whether the product or the infrastructure is going to be approved. We're going to predict the likelihood that the commissioner will like it.
That's amazing.
And that's the beauty of this. So you can think of our approach as to taking all of this open source intelligence,
Right.
all of this unstructured data,
Right.
and transforming it into insights.
Right. And it's kind of like building relationships, right? Like understanding what the other person's point of view is. And so kind of giving you that extra advantage to be able to understand them and their point of view.
I love what you said there because that's at the heart of Artifacts AI, where we build community intelligence. So if you look at political discourse in the country, a lot of the problems stem from social media in the 2000s.
Right.
Because what it did was it created echo chambers. Instead of saying that Seema and I, we both care about our water and care about this bridge that's being built, we can't understand that. Instead, we say, well, I like Donald Trump and you like Joe Biden. We're going to be at odds, right? So there's this layer that has been missing of finding common ground based on community because the technology wasn't there. But now what AI has allowed us to do is to break those silos down and understand the actual issues that matter. So not only are we helping developers build faster and more efficiently, we're helping them understand the communities that they're building in so that it's successful projects. Now, what's very interesting about that is that also goes into siting. So if you're looking at trying to build a large-scale solar facility, you might have 5 or 6 or 10 different sources to go from. Right now, that process is very much like gambling.
Right.
You hope you have one big project, and then the rest will fail. That's not how you should build. That's a good way to maybe invest, especially for software venture capitalists, but that's not how we build infrastructure. So the same model applies globally for where we can assign risk scores of saying, should you build here for solar? Well, maybe not because there's a lot of environmental pushback and, well, here's an opportunity to get that through because of the economy. So we're able to essentially capture the culture to draw communities together, to find common ground, to build better cities of the future.
Wonderful. Amazing stuff. And Russ, you were part of our Climate Scale Up cohort last year. That was your first time coming to Davos.
Second time, actually.
It was the second
my
time.
first time with such a great activator that launched my career.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for that. So tell me how your life has changed since then.
So first off, I owe so much to both you and Todd for not only the advice that you've given me, but for the opportunities to see how you can start not only scaling technology, but your ideas. So we started as a little old startup. I think we were talking about permitting and real estate at some point.
Exactly.
And what we found was this ecosystem of a gap in governance. And so not only have I been able to build a successful company, this has launched my career in the policy advocacy space. So since then, I have been promoted to chair of the American Society for AI, where I help draft recommendations for America's AI action plan. I work with state, federal, and international officials on implementation of AI regulations that actually allow for innovation, not inhibit it. And then have stumbled across being a track 2 diplomat, working with folks all across the world to say, AI is ubiquitous. We are in the middle of an AI revolution, and a lot of people are looking for an Oppenheimer moment.
Right.
For example, for those who don't know what an Oppenheimer moment is, it is when Oppenheimer saw the nuclear bomb for the first time, and he said, there be the destroyer of worlds, right? I take a contrarian approach to that. What I say is, if we can use AI to cross borders, to understand culture, to build common ground, we can create a more sustainable world if and only if technology is embedded in our democratic systems.
Wonderful. So thank you so much. To close things off, is there anything that you can say about Climate Scale Up and your experience so far?
So Climate Scale Up is one of the best incubators I've ever seen. I've done a variety of advising for startups and venture capitalists, and you guys are the best of the best. Why? Because you're authentic. You care. When I talk to Seema, when I talk to Todd, I'm not getting generic advice. I'm getting a friend that understands the challenges, not only of being a CEO or an entrepreneur, but the unique challenges of my business, of my life. And not to say, hey, Russ, you're doing this wrong. No, no, no. We understand this. Here's an opportunity for you to grow. And it's that growth mindset that Climate Scale has fostered that I carry with me every day.
Perfect. Thanks, Russ, for all those kind words. And thank you, everyone, for listening.